All right, Brambro back here with Grand Tactician Civil War, the CSA campaign. In our last episode, we fought a battle here right at the lowest end of the Shenandoah Valley near the Potomac, outside Winchester. Federals had besieged our Fort Beckham. Johnston elected to assault to lift that siege with a regular tactical field battle instead of continuing the siege, which was in the Federals' favor. Once we got into that battle, it turned out that intelligence estimates of Federal strength had been woefully underreported, and there were about 10,000 or so more Federal troops in that battle than we thought there was going to be, and we already had known that Johnston would be outnumbered. He was outnumbered a little over 2 to 1, in fact. Defensive battle, the saving grace was that for whatever reason, still not entirely clear, the Federals had very poor morale. Not sure exactly why. Perhaps weather, perhaps supply condition. Being on Confederate territory didn't fully explain how low the morale of the Union Army was. In any case, good defensive effort by Johnston and these two Federal forces. It was the Army of Occupation commanded by George McClellan and the West Virginia Militia commanded by, I think, Winfield Scott, but a General Scott regardless. So I'm pretty sure it was Winfield Scott. We just came back out of that battle to the campaign map, and they are still in the withdrawing mode. So it will take a little bit for the armies to disengage. Let me get my supply and telegraph turned on and the monuments turned off. Other than that, I think the situation elsewhere on the campaign map is as described. Fort building at Wheeling, just kind of sitting and training at Nashville in winter quarters, sitting in fort building, supply depot building, training, and awaiting the next Federal attack if one comes. At St. Louis, building a telegraph station here in southern Missouri to connect St. Louis to the Confederate telegraph system. Actually, it looks like... No, not quite yet. This brigade is in telegraph range of both this station and this station. But I don't think we have an actual link yet. I don't think. Does the Missouri Army have a telegraph? He does. Sterling Price is now in telegraph communications, which gives his army a little bit of a morale buff. And this station is not actually built yet, but it is connected. So there's an interesting little tidbit. A telegraph station building immediately confers connectivity, not just when it's complete. There's something I didn't know. So that's interesting. And then we're recruiting more brigades down at headquarters in Montgomery, Alabama. Let's see how... That's the wrong tab. How close are we to getting our military to? 29 days. So it's still about a month until we get the military to policy unlocked. That will increase our volunteer recruit manpower pool. That will increase our subsidy levels for recruitment, which is where those volunteer increases come from. And also trade warfare, which should help us out with this particular thing here, which is the one area where the Union is really kind of outclassing us. So that'll help us raid the Union a little bit better. And it also increases the subsidy for, and what's the actual term? Civil order, which helps with intelligence and also helps with state support. It doesn't necessarily increase state support, but it reduces the penalties for losing state support from getting raided, the draft, and combat losses. All of which are good. So, Military 2 has several good effects. And then the biggest effect of Military 2 is that it unlocks the Army Corps structure. We have, I think most people know this, but for anyone who may not, we have several armies on the map. In fact, we have, well, technically we have 7, but we have 6 kind of field armies, combat forces. And then I've got a little engineer corps running around building stuff, and then I've got an administrative kind of army HQ, or that's the way I'm using it anyway. Each of these, quote, armies, unquote, is really the size of a corps. So what Military 2 is going to allow is that we can establish an army headquarters. Some people might use the term Grand Army. And then we can put these corps size, these smaller armies, underneath the command of that superseding HQ. The Army commander has a much larger command radius than these current Army commanders do. Like right here, we can see that Johnson's command radius extends out. It may be kind of hard to see on the map. Let me see if I can find one that's a little cleaner. Yeah. So here we see Johnson's command radius around Nashville. And this is pretty typical of what a Corps commander's radius would be. An Army commander, once that gets unlocked, the command radius will be probably about twice this much. Like if you're sitting here right in the center of Tennessee, it would probably extend to both the northern and southern borders, and then east to west it would extend from the river all the way to the mountains. Roughly that kind of scope. And any subordinate corps within that radius will march to reinforce any other corps within that radius and under the command of that Army commander. So basically it allows for corps to support each other and reinforce for a battle at much further distances than any of our armies could now. Just to go back up to Virginia, if Beauregard were attacked over here in D.C., I think it's pretty unlikely that Johnston over in the Shenandoah Valley would be able to go over and support him. However, if we had an Army commander in between them, somewhere around Leesburg, both of those armies would be within that Army commander's radius. And if Beauregard were attacked, Johnston would go support him and reinforce in that battle. Now, given the terrain, it might take him a while to do that, but he would do that. So that allows what are currently armies, but will be corps. It allows a big army with coordinated corps to cover a much larger area, which then means that you can move a larger force of men over a greater area, thereby spreading out the supply demand over a larger area, and so it's very useful for keeping the troops better supplied as well. And that is why I have not yet assigned Robert E. Lee to any of these commands. I have been saving him to assume Army Command whenever that policy is unlocked. And so that will be the establishment of the true Army of Northern Virginia. And these two forces, I think I'm going to go with these two, will be renamed 1st and 2nd Corps. And then I also intend to, at some point, create a 2nd Corps for the Army of Tennessee and do the same thing here. And in that case, I will promote Albert Sidney Johnston to that Army Command and find someone else to command this force, which will be a corps. Like maybe General Marmaduke might be a candidate for that. The other benefit of Army Command is there will be a pretty substantial morale buff to the subordinate corps. Like let's just look at if we hover over this morale here, we see that there is a plus 3.8% morale buff for being in telegraph communication, which I've talked about before. If this force were under a Grand Army Command, there would be a within range of leader bonus here of about plus 9%. It's pretty substantial. Because of that, even if you only have the one corps, the one force, it is still advantageous to have an army commander over that force. So like in this case, I do not intend, at least for the long term, I talked a little bit earlier about how I feel like I need to get another force to come over here and attack the Army of the West. Or have another force come up and assume defense at St. Louis while Price goes over and attacks the one way or the other. Temporarily, I will need a second force here. But even if I don't intend to have a corps in Missouri long term other than this one, I will still have an Army Command here and put this force under it. And the same thing in Western Virginia for Garnet. In any case, enough prattling on. Let's get time rolling. There's the Trent Affair. I thought we had this come up before. Sometimes they come up. Sometimes these headlines come up again when you reboot the game. So right now nothing's happening because I think initially it just lets time run to cover the period of time which the battle itself actually lasted. Strangely, they're not actually retreating per se. They're just moving. Or they are, but there wasn't really much of a pursuit retreat phase. So they have fallen back to the Frederick area. Well, they're falling back further than that, apparently. Nah, that's where they're going. Alrighty then. Heading into December now. Winter continues, just continuing our fort building. I had this idea that I would just kind of run through this winter time period off camera. However, I'm kind of expecting some of these Union armies to attack us. Okay, some of these newly recruited units are starting to show up in Alabama. Of course, the readiness needs to increase as well. Aha. And here we go. The Army of Kentucky is attacking Sterling Price at St. Louis yet again. However, this time we've got about 8,500 more men than we did last time Halleck came calling. Okay. And he is not being reinforced by the Army of the Mississippi. Okay, so I'm probably going to, let's just go in real quick, see what kind of situation we are involved with. I think this is going to be the 4th battle of St. Louis Port. Why not St. Louis itself, I don't know, but yeah, St. Louis Harbor again. Fourth time. I'm sure it'll be the same map. But one of the cool things that they've done in this game is, the maps are from historical battles, and there's only so many of them, and so they're kind of distributed by region. Like if you're anywhere in Pennsylvania, you're going to get the Gettysburg map. If you're in Maryland, you're going to get the Antietam map, etc., so forth, so on. And then there's several maps for Virginia, but in different regions. But with the objectives, typically you have 1 or 2 objectives in a given battle, and they're big maps. But they change around. There's actually, I don't know the exact number, it may be different for different maps, but there's probably 12, at least 12, maybe 16 different objectives on this Copperton map. And then it randomizes which one is actually active for a given battle, which means that even though they're reusing the same maps, the different objectives and the different situations, whether defending, attacking, or a meeting engagement, those allow for tons of different combinations. And so you can have completely different tactical situations, even though you're using the same map. And actually, this is not the same map we've normally been fighting on. So I guess there's a couple of different Missouri maps. Anyway, I think they did a nice job of using that kind of random objective system to keep the battles different in character and utilize terrain in all different corners of a map. And, like a ford that is a critical point in one battle may be completely irrelevant in another, or a bridge, or a forest, or whatever. I think they did a nice job with that. Okay, this is a meeting situation. However, the Federals own the one objective way up here in the corner, which also happens to be where his entry points are onto the map. So even though it's a meeting engagement, it seems quite clear that the Federals are going to remain up here in the corner. They own the objective, and they will probably just defend it. They definitely will do that in a defensive situation, but because it's a meeting engagement, they may keep coming toward, even though they own the objective, they may still come toward the center of the map and try to find us. We don't have a very large deployment zone, and we certainly cannot be complacent that Halleck will come all the way to our location. So just setting up a defensive position is not going to cut the mustard. So we'll scout up this road with cavalry until we find the Federals, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and put a, I know at least a couple people probably don't like me doing this, but just to shorten the time of the video, I'm going to put a cut in right here. I'm going to deploy the army in march order along this road, get time running, start marching up the road, and then send the cavalry out ahead to find the Federals and go from there. And then I will, I'll find a spot that seems as good as is available in the time that we have. I suspect it might be kind of in this forest area. There's a fence, some fences there, maybe somewhere in here, if we meet them in the middle of the map. Anyway, once I've got kind of the army in a position and we know where the Federals are, and I think shooting is going to happen pretty soon, then I will come back. Okay, here we are. Battle of St. Louis Harbor, the 4th Battle of St. Louis Harbor, on the morning of day 2. It is winter, so it's 8 o'clock already in the morning. And turns out that nightfall in December is at 5 p.m. Okay, as we talked about before the cut, came up this road, sent the cav out ahead, and yeah, we found the Federals. And I gotta say, Halleck set up, AI Halleck set up a defensive position about as good as I've ever seen the AI do. He's got entrenchments across here, anchored on the right by Ward's Fort, and anchored on the left by some swamp. There is no road, bridge, ford on this side over the West Fork. Ward's Fork, sorry. And there is no road or anything between this swamp and this other, what is this? Howell Creek, I guess. And then there's an actual bay, which really is impassable. Creeks are bad enough as it is, these small ones. When they get bigger, I don't think they're completely impassable, but it's very, very slow to cross these, and just completely wrecks the unit's cohesion and fatigue. And of course, there's no cover. So anyway, it's a really good defensive position. Halleck is basically doing to me, it put me in the kind of situation on the other side that I like to put the AI in. And the objective is way back here. He owns it, and so I couldn't really see a way to kind of induce the AI to come out of this position and attack me instead. I'm going to have to nibble away somehow at him, and there's no really attractive options. So what I settled on, I don't like this plan, I just can't think of a better one. Over here, this swampy area is bad, but I don't think it's as bad as trying to get at him on this side. It's the lesser of two evils. Now I could march over here and I could fire across this, but it's completely open terrain. Not that this side is any better. There's little patches of woods here and there that may offer a little terrain. But this position we're looking at, The entrenchments themselves will remain, but the federal unit positions we're seeing is what we found at the end of day 1. We're still in the deployment phase right now. As soon as I hit play, I think we're going to see that he will have reoriented his units in some fashion. There may be some more entrenchments. But I kind of spread out along here. Matter of fact, I think I may even put Marmaduke even further to the left. Like that. I'm doing that because I want to, and I want him visible too. So let's make sure he's further up. He's still far enough away. I don't think he's going to get shot at. Maybe a little bit of arty. I want kind of the bulk of my army to spread out visually, such that Halleck doesn't necessarily reorient his entire army facing along this axis toward the swamp. You know, I want him to honor that there's units on his right as well, on our left. So that's what Marmaduke is over here for. Because given that I'm going to try to make a flank attack across this swamp, bad enough already, I want to ensure it at least stays a flank attack, not this is now his center. And he is, you know, if I had loaded everybody up behind the swamp, he would have reoriented his line along something like this to face me. And then that would have been even worse than what we have now. So I want him to kind of maintain something like he has, I hope, so that this is a flank, not a center. And that's why I've got Johnson's division right here. They're sitting back from it, but they're going to move up, I hope. Yeah, right onto this fence line, facing the trench. I'll put some skirmishers out, maybe have the skirmishers fire on the artillery. Got a horse artillery battery here, a full strength one now. And they're just kind of here to, they're not going to attack across here frontally into entrenchments, but they're kind of here as a presence and to keep these forces that are in the trenches, keep them in the trenches. I intend to kind of advance Rains. These are the new brigades. This is Canty and Posey's full strength brigades, which have come up from Alabama. This is their first combat. I'm just going to move them up a little bit right to the edge of the swamp. Maybe put some breastworks up and hold this position. And then I'm going to move Rhodes's division, Clark and Johnson. I'm going to go ahead and move them across the swamp over here to about like this, right where the crease in that map is. So the idea then is, if they then react by attacking into Rhodes, then Rains can move forward a little bit with his 3 brigades into a kind of a mini flank attack into whatever attacks into Rhodes. We'll see how that works out. But bottom line, I've got 5 brigades over here where I'm trying to achieve local superiority of firepower against one flank and keep enough forces over here that the entire Army of Kentucky doesn't all come in on Rains and Rhodes. And then I've got kind of a nice open field of fire, I hope, for Huger's 3 battalions right here in the middle. And it's nice open terrain, bad for infantry, good for artillery on both sides. Anyway, that's kind of what I was thinking. So let's get time rolling here and see what kind of changes Halleck will have made overnight with his deployment. Not much. Okay. Yeah, that had the desired effect. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and order rains up to something about like that. Once he's there, he will start building breastworks and put out skirmishers, and we'll just move who's this, Rhodes, up a little bit. And let's get this horse artillery battery right about here. He is detached. It's Rhodes's battery, but he's not matching the movements of the infantry. All these other fellows can just kind of maintain their position. I think, these guys should be moving up to the fence line. Price is coming up here closer to his subordinate commanders. This is also the first combat for the 2 horse artillery battalions in this army. They are replacements for the disbanded small horse artillery batteries. How in the world do these guys not have targets? I don't get that. Let's limber them up and just move them up closer. First, let's have all these guys put out skirmishers. Oh, no, they're all in medium range too. Let me go through and fix all that. Always go left to right. Relative to the direction you want the fortification to face. What if you can actually build breastworks in swamp? I guess we're about to find out. You can, I guess. Did not know that. Oh, look at that. That was enough to goad Halleck into action. Didn't really expect that. Well, you know what? If he wants to cross the swamp, that's fine. Yeah, I think maybe he'd just be changing position. We'll see if he actually comes across. It looks like he is. Well, here I was worried he may just solve my problem for me. Now it's just a question of can we get the breastworks up in time while the skirmishers hold off these federal brigades. A little laundry going on there in the background. It's probably, I don't know if that's audible over the in the video or not. Life goes on elsewhere in the house while I'm recording. Stark is still finding targets. He's actually got 11 guns. I thought that horse artillery would max out at 7 or 8. 7 is what it shows when I recruited them, but he's actually got 11. And he's shooting way over here to this position. How do these battalions not have targets? Oh, because I don't have them on fire at will. I had them turned off earlier because I didn't want them shooting yesterday. No wonder they're not firing at anything. Ooh, we've even got brigades coming out of the trenches as well. I better make sure. Okay, we don't need Marmaduke over in this position anymore. I'm going to have him come back here first because I don't want him going right across here. But I'm going to move him over here close to the to Huger's artillery. These guys not gotten the order to fire yet? Go ahead and start moving roads across this swamp. Hopefully on a path that keeps them from getting fired upon. Okay, these skirmishers are coming in. These skirmishers they'll probably break before they get back. Let's see if we can get the skirmishers back out here. I guess within a certain distance, you probably can't continue working on entrenchments, I guess. Marmaduke? Bring this brigade over like this. Got to come out of cover to protect the guns. Let's limber up this artillery. See if he can move across the swamp as well. Something like that. Waitman's doing okay, and he's not considered flanked yet. I think Posey's actually taken more fire than Waitman is, despite their positions. Okay, Cheatham is moving over. Okay. Driven off this skirm unit. Where's Marmaduke? Where is Marmaduke? Oh, he's moving. That's a weird path. Whatever. Yeah. Slow going through that swamp. Get these skirms to deliver some flanking fire. Canty's brigade is kind of superfluous, exactly where he is. Screw the breastworks, come on over here. I don't think these skirms here for Posey are really doing any good. Pull them back in. They did work on these for a little bit, even though it doesn't look like they're done. I wonder if there might be just a little bit of cover in there. Can't hurt. And even if there isn't, they won't be any worse off than they are now. Let's advance Cheatham just a little bit so we can get more guns on this brigade out in the open over here. Casualty ratio is in our favor. Uh-oh. I think Stark's battalion might be in trouble. I moved him across prematurely. And he zipped right across that swamp a lot faster than Rhodes' division did. Rhodes' infantry. Oops. Well, unlimber and give him a whiff of grape shot. Hopefully that'll keep you in good shape. Posey is getting a little bit of cover here. Which means Waitman probably will too. So I'm going to tell him to go in this position in a charge. Which which means he'll move a lot quicker up to it instead of trying to advance to it, firing along the way. Well, this is just a mess in here. Clark's brigade failing cohesion. How on earth do you not have any... Got fire? Okay, he's fine. Well, turns out Waitman's not getting any cover from that breastwork. That's okay. How's Cheatham doing over here? His casualties are okay. Yeah, he's doing fine. Some pretty intense musket fire. 1x speed. Still don't understand why he's not firing. Can't see his firing arc, really. Looks like it's right up in here. I don't know why it's so short. Let's get roads up here. Clark to about here. Remember, I combined Clark's and Waitman's brigade. This was Slack's brigade in the previous battles. He got defamed in a battle, and so I moved Clark over to take command of this brigade. Okay, we've got one broken brigade, two broken brigades here in the federal line through this swamp. Second brigade has taken 550 casualties. He can't be too far behind, I would imagine. This brigade is wavering. This brigade is falling back. Pierce isn't really doing anything worthwhile over there. Let's get him up here and support. I think that's Cheatham. Let's go ahead and bring this. We'll bring this horse artillery up. And how about here? Via a strange route. Why he wouldn't go this way, I don't know. But he's going to go all the way around. Whatever. Keeping Marmaduke back a little bit because I don't want him blocking the artillery's line of fire. Maybe let's bring him about like this. $3,000 to 700 casualties. We're at 17% of Halleck's force is now casualties. I thought I had ordered Clark to advance. Thought I had. Johnson's just about at his assigned position. I don't think Canty really needs these skirmishers anymore. Let's go ahead and, it's going to take them forever. Let's go ahead and advance. Rains' division. across the swamp. It won't be very fast. Okay, they're basically in the retreat before the retreat phase now. All right, let's get Marmaduke doing a little pursuit here. Hopefully Van Dorn follows him. We'll make sure he does. Okay, infantry's just going to do whatever the infantry's able to do, which won't be much. Any further casualties are going to be the work of the cav. We're at, what are we at? 18%. I'm going to keep Marmaduke mounted. I'm not going to dismount him. Well, I usually don't follow like that on the fire order. The cav is, though. That's good. Yeah, he might be about to get in trouble. Those aren't broken units. They might turn and give them a whole bunch of fire real quick. Let's have them work on this battery. Might have moved him up too close, I don't know. Okay, they're broken. So I'm working this wavering infantry brigade here. Wow, they just evaporated. I wonder if maybe they can capture some of these. You know, I hold out. I can't get the cross swords to charge them. I don't think we're going to get anything out of that. You can click on fire and they don't. Let's go see if we can get anything out of that cav brigade over there. At 21, oh, we're so close. What are you doing? Maintain your cohesion. I may have forced that by clicking the fire button again. Go, 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 go. Come on. Oh, come on. Some kind of glitchy AI behavior maneuvering crap. First Brigade wiped out. That, okay. Yeah, well, somehow eked out a major victory right at the tail end. Not quite 800 casualties overall, lost a couple guns. I think that was probably Stark going across the swamp a little faster than his supporting infantry. Lost about 100 cav. Almost 700 compared to 4,600 for Halleck. He didn't lose any guns. No, he lost all his guns, 15 to 15. And 4,500 infantry. Okay. So the Cav Brigade was originally 5 stars, but small. Brought in a whole bunch of rookies, plus them back up. That dropped their experience level down to 2 stars, but they're back up to 3 stars. We promoted Marmaduke to Brigadier General. He lost a little bit of experience, but he got that star back too, 5 stars on this commander. All right. Enemy national morale dropped another point, or 0.97 of a point. Military experience comes up again. General Porter defamed on the other side. I didn't have a Porter. I didn't have any units route either. Army of Kentucky fleeing again. The victory is good, but nothing is really changing at St. Louis. He'll go back across the river, reconstitute, and he'll come right back. And meanwhile, the Army of the Mississippi will probably come at us again. Now, they lose a point of national morale every time they're defeated, so, so we should be at about 38 now. 37. So, if that happens 12 more times, we win. Okay. Is he still in retreat mode? Yeah. But he's just going to pop right back over here. This is nearest... well, that's considered an... He may have to go back up to Vandalia again. Either way. Halleck will be back. So will Fremont, probably, if Fremont is still in command of this army. I haven't actually seen him for about a month, so... he may not be there anymore. And we haven't actually seen the Army of the West for several months. In any case, that will do for this episode. Thank you very much for watching.